Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. This is week 3 of our Zentangle inspired hand drawing. This is the week that we will start our final artwork. So this week you will need a plain white sheet of paper with your name on the back. You will also need a pencil, your hand, and either a black pen or a super thin black Sharpie marker. So let's get started. This week, our learning target says I will create a balanced composition by tracing my hand. Remember, we talked about this. All you have to do this week is trace. Make sure you keep your Zentangle patterns handy because you're going to need those at the end of class. Your directions this week are pretty simple. You want to trace your hand 4 or 5 times to fill up and balance the page. Depending on how big your hand is, tells you how many times you will need to trace it. You could start like this student by putting one hand coming from every edge of the paper. Make sure you include part of your wrist. And you have to trace your hand enough times so that you start to create these tiny overlapping shapes where the fingers crisscross each other. If your hands are really big, you might only need 4 hands to make sure that your page is full and balanced. Remember, balance means I have about an equal arrangement. So if I have 2 hands at the top, I have 2 at the bottom. If I have 2 on the left, I have 2 on the right. If your hand is smaller, you might need to add an extra hand, or possibly even a 6th if your hand is really small. Just place your hand flat on the paper, take the other hand, and trace around it with the pencil. Once you have your paper full and balanced, you are ready to neatly trace over those pencil lines with the skinny Sharpie or with a black gel pen or black ballpoint pen. Make sure you're working to trace neatly. If when you were outlining your hands, your pencil line is a little shaky and wiggly, now is the time to straighten that line out and make it very smooth so that those lines are neat. If you have a little bit of extra time, you could start using a very, very simple Zentangle pattern to fill the largest section on your paper. The largest section you have is probably your background. You could use one pattern in the entire background, like this student did, or you could use different patterns for each part of the background. Maybe you put one pattern here and maybe a different simple pattern here. If you are using straight lines, make sure that this week, because it's your final artwork, you're using a straight edge or a ruler to make sure that those lines are super straight and neat. If you had a little extra time, you could even start doing the patterns on the largest part of the hand. But that is really not necessary because next week we're going to talk a lot more about pattern. I can't wait to see what you create. Have a wonderful week and keep on creating.